The competitive bug bites again. I mentioned in my previous video that getting back to running took about 3 years of off and on due to stress-related injuries, not being used to weight-bearing activities, and eventually I was able to get my body to handle more and more mileage, and mostly I just trained. I didn't worry about racing at all, just wanted to train and get back to that volume and running every day, and actually started coaching. In addition to my high school coaching, I started coaching a group of marathoners and 10K runners at Rogue Running in Austin, and I lived in Cedar Park, so they opened a Cedar Park store, and I was in charge of Team Rogue Cedar Park. These were the more advanced in terms of goals, not necessarily in terms of running super fast times. I had a runner who ran 2:47 for the marathon and 60 minutes for 10 miles. He was my top runner. He was a master's runner in his late 40s and still running quite well. So I also had runners who ran 4 hours for the marathon and were continually trying to get down to that Boston qualifier standard, and eventually many of them did exceed that standard and ran in the Boston Marathon and other marathons as well. So I was devoting my time to coaching and to, there again, improving my own endurance and running every day, and really enjoy the everyday, not grind, but the everyday process of getting out there and running. And for me, that meant 4 a.m. most days, some days 3 a.m. running, since I taught school, and my Team Rogue Cedar Park group met at 5:15 a.m., so I had to get my run in before coaching them and then heading to school. The early mornings were fine for me. I've always been an early riser, and now I typically rise at 6 and run at about 7, but that's actually fairly late for me throughout my career. Most of those early morning runs were way prior to 6 a.m., more like 4 or 5 a.m. I love the early mornings, the peace and tranquility of being out there on my own. This endurance buildup started me to thinking about other types of racing I'd never done before, trail racing. I started running more and more on trails and became intrigued with some local runners, particularly Paul Terranova, who had recently done the Grand Slam plus Kona in ultra running, which meant he ran Western States, followed by Leadville, followed by Vermont, followed by Leadville, followed by Wasatch, and then he did the Kona Ironman to go one step further than most ultra slam 100-miler athletes had done. So I was really impressed with that and decided I would give ultras a try. So I actually signed up for my first ultra. It was going to be held in October of 2014. That was going to be the North Face Endurance Challenge, 50 kilometers in Wisconsin, near Madison, Wisconsin, actually on the Ice Age Trail, some of it on the Ice Age Trail. So I began training in earnest for that particular race, doing a lot of longer runs, a lot of 14-milers day after day after day. Paul once told me that, man, you do a lot of long runs, and I was doing a lot of medium long runs, and then some 25, 26-mile runs just to adapt my body to being out there longer and longer, running on trails when I could, but most of that was still on roads or on polished trails, so I wasn't getting as much technical trail running as maybe I should have. But the race I was going to run was not a super technical race, so that wasn't really a huge issue. I remember going to Boulder, Colorado, and spending some time with my friend Keith Sinclair, who lived in Longmont, and taking 2 ugly falls on some pretty technical trails in Boulder. The part of the Mesa Trail along, oh God, what is the name of the canyon? Can't think of it right now, but also had a fall on the Swiss Trail. One of those falls, I actually broke a rib, and the other one I hit my head pretty hard and had a nice little bump, probably a little bit concussed, but on I went, kept training every day, and went back to Texas after that. Only had a couple of weeks before the North Face Endurance Challenge, so I will talk in depth about that first ultra marathon race in my next episode, but it's getting late, and I need to call my friend Sil Pascal. We have sort of made a pact to talk once a week, and Tuesday's a good day, so I'm going to give him a call. Hope it's not too late on the West Coast. Cheers.